Yeah, I'm really excited to see it because it's a documentary and because I'm sure shows so much of the people that I served with and knew that, the large majority, I mean, 99% of the people in the military are exactly what you said, Gary Sinise. They love their job. They're proud of it. I just talked to a Marine colonel in Afghanistan who was telling me about this mission that they just went on, and they were so proud of it when it was done. They didn't, it was about a bridge that they were building, and they accomplished it, and they finished it, and it just made them they had so much pride doing it, and so much of, I think, of the art that is in Hollywood and that so many Americans see, unfortunately, is just the bad stuff.
You do not see that very often portrayed in films, unfortunately. The integrity of our service members, and I just see it every day. I know it exists. I have been to too many bases and spent too much time with so many military people to not be totally, absolutely 100% convinced that we have incredible, smart, intelligent, honorable, dedicated people serving this country who should be given a pat on the back and a thank you as often as possible. I've just seen it too many times, and unless you are personally connected to someone in the military, know somebody who's serving, have relatives who serve, military people, unless you know that, there's no way you would know. You get all your information from the news or from the movies.
From the movies, right?
And I go out there and I see this. I do this all the time. I've been to too many, many bases all around the world. I've spent time with our military families. I know what they go through. I know a lot of qualified and dedicated service people. Now, yeah, is it? The military has a 1.5 million people involved in it, and there's going to be some goofballs, sure,
right?
But that could be said about any. Look, there's goofballs in Hollywood too. It doesn't mean that everybody in Hollywood is a nutcase.
Well, that's one of the things that's so intriguing about you is that you chose this field of art. Many years ago. I mean, you founded Steppenwolf, the premier theater in Chicago, with two of your buddies shortly after you graduated from college back in the 70s, and you understand what a huge impact art can have on our culture. And so when you have people at the top making these gigantic movies that don't depict the good things our troops are doing, that does affect the culture, and it does affect a lot of the mores that our society has. So I hope that this Brothers at War is something that will open up more creative people in Hollywood to start making more positive movies about. You
never know. You never know what people are going to make. I mean, they tend to go where the money is. I mean, unless it's something like, you have 5 or 6 or 7 really depressing anti-military films come out in a row that don't make any money.
Yeah,
they're not. They've slowed down making those movies. They took their shot, and they're not making them. If of all those movies, those depressing movies would have made a lot of money, there'd be 10 more lined up behind them.
Yeah.
But they didn't sell, so they're not making them. They're a little leery. The thing about Brothers at War. Brothers of War is a documentary. How often does a documentary get into the theaters in the first place? That we're already ahead of the game. The movie is in the theaters in 18 different cities right now. That's unusual. It's unusual for a documentary to get out there. This is a quality one. There's obviously some interest in it. It's got a very low budget for advertising, so all the word of mouth is very, very important. And me getting on the radio and you helping us out is a big deal for a film like this.
And I know you got to run here pretty soon. You've had a long day of shooting out there at CSI New York. But just real quick, wanted to ask before we let you go, the whole Lieutenant Dan Band thing. That I assume that's something you kind of did on a whim a couple years ago. You've been a musician your whole life and just wanted to have some fun and get some guys together and do it. This has turned into something a lot bigger than you were initially planned. I mean, a lot of these gigs you play in Chicago, tons and tons of people go to. I know you're coming up on Friday, the 17th, at Joe's Bar in Chicago, and then at the theater that you helped found, Steppenwolf Theatre in Chicago, on the 18th. But the Lieutenant Dan Band, I mean, that's what you do when you go on these USO tours, right? You perform with that band.
Well, yeah. I mean, we do the past 4 or 5 years. We play the Steppenwolf, the big spring gala. It's the big fundraiser that we do every year, and my band plays. And for the last 3 or 4 years of that, we have set up a show at Joe's Bar the night before. We play at Joe's Bar quite a bit. So this year we're playing there on April 17th, Joe's Bar on Weed Street. The band was came about because I started doing these USO tours, and I had some buddies there from Chicago. A buddy of mine, Kimo Williams, and I were just playing together for fun. And then when I started going on these tours, I finally, I just asked the USO if they'd let me take some musicians with me to play for the troops, because before the band went out, I was just going out and shaking hands and taking pictures.
Yeah.
So I took the band on our first tour in 2004, and ever since we've been playing 30 or 40 shows a year. And coming up Friday the 17th, we'll be back at Joe's Bar. We hope we get a big crowd out there. We're usually sold out. We have a packed crowd in there, and people just have a really good time when they come to hear the band. Well,
we're going to try to come to it for sure, and I hope you listeners out there listening to this, if you're not doing anything Friday, April 17th, Joe's Bar in Chicago. I think there are still tickets, or there might be, for the Steppenwolf one on the 18th as well. But Gary Sinise, I can't say enough about what a huge fan we are of yours, and not just on screen, but the stuff you do outside of your work. We hope that your success continues, and we thank you so much for supporting the effort, supporting the war effort, supporting the troops, and supporting the mission. Is there anything else you want to add or mention before we say goodbye tonight?
The only thing I would say is Joe's Bar on Weed Street, April 17th. Come see the Lieutenant Dan Band.
And you are playing bass in the Lieutenant Dan Band, right?
That's right, buddy. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Gary Sinise. Have a great night.
You bet.